Thank you very much. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Um, if you want to be in the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative Grant Writing Workshop Series, you are in the right place. This is our first grant workshop of the 2026 series. There will be 3 more workshops throughout this year, and we're excited to have you here. We have a large group. Typically, we offer these trainings hybrid, sometimes it just in person, but first quarter out of the year, just because we can never predict the weather, we do these virtual. So I was excited to see a pretty big registration list, including folks outside of the state of Michigan for the first time. So if you're coming from a different state, welcome. We're glad you're here. I'd like to begin by sharing a little bit of info about our work. The West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative is made up of diverse organizations in our community, including but not limited to nonprofits, businesses, government institutions, community members, who are all working together towards a more welcoming and inclusive region for immigrants, refugees, and new Americans who live here. The goal of our quarterly workshop series is to set up immigrant and refugee community members with tools to succeed in their businesses and organizations through leadership development, grant workshops. We strive to set up our global community to have more equitable access to grant funding, as well as gain confidence to serve in leadership positions. These workshops are always free and open to the public. They're offered in a 4-part series, and participants can view other workshops on our website and YouTube channel. We've been dropping a helpful links document in the chat. You can access our website and those sorts of resources in that document. If you attend 2 or more workshops, you get some personalized time with a grant consultant. If you attend all 4 of our workshops, you'll get a special mention on our social media, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win a short promotional video. We've linked all of this again in the helpful links document that's in the chat. I will drop it again throughout the workshop today. This year, for the first time, we're partnering with local community-based organizations in our region to serve as hosts, guest speakers, and to share a few best practices that have contributed to their success as an organization. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to our CBO host and guest speaker, Alejandra Guillen. Alejandra is the Executive Director of Latin Americans United for Progress, or LAUP, a nonprofit based in Holland, Michigan, dedicated to empowering the Latino community through advocacy, education, and celebration. Born and raised in Mexico, she has more than 15 years of experience in nonprofit leadership, education, and strategic partnerships, advancing equity through culturally responsive, community-rooted initiatives that expand access and opportunity for Latino communities across West Michigan and beyond. Thank you again, Alejandra, for being with us today. I will transfer the floor over to you.
Welcome, everyone. I'm super excited to be here with you today. And thank you, Holland, for the introduction and for letting LAUP host today's workshop. We're very excited. And before I introduce our amazing presenters, I just want to give you a quick overview of LAUP for those who aren't familiar. So LAUP, or Latin Americans United for Progress, is Michigan's oldest Latino-led organization. We have existed for over 60 years. We're based in Holland, Michigan, and serve communities along the lakeshore. Our mission is to empower Latinos to help build a better community for all through advocacy, education, and celebration. And we do that through our different initiatives and programs that range from workforce development and career mobility, youth programming and college access support, resource navigation. We have our small business hub, and we also host cultural community events that create spaces for belonging where families can connect, honor their roots, and we engage in advocacy and partnerships that elevate community voice and reduce barriers. So without further ado, I'm excited to introduce our presenters today. Trish Okolo is the Development and Operations Coordinator at Treetops Collective. She holds a master's degree in philanthropy and nonprofit leadership from Grand Valley State University. She specializes in grant making, fundraising events, donor relations, hiring, onboarding, and professional development, all aimed at fostering organizational growth and community impact. Trisha Smith Mulder began her professional journey in the financial services sector, earning a bachelor's in business administration from Grand Valley State University and an MBA from Cornerstone University. In 2011, she shifted her focus to youth advocacy, taking on a director level role at the Gerald R. Ford Job Corps Center in Grand Rapids, where she spent 7 years supporting disadvantaged youth ages 16 to 24. During this time, she discovered a passion for grant writing. After leaving Job Corps in 2018, an unexpected meeting with a former colleague led her to found River City Grant Writing. Today, Trisha enjoys traveling with her husband, John, and while her three daughters have all left the nest, she now fills her home with an ever-growing collection of houseplants. So help me welcoming our two amazing presenters, and I'll give the floor to you.
Hello everyone. It's so nice to be here, and I'm glad I am doing this with you all. So we're talking about AI for grant writing. Can you turn to the next slide, please? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so why are we doing this workshop right now? Grant writing is really important in our organizations, and we need to get grants to keep our funding and our programs going. And AI now is everywhere. Almost everyone is now using AI. Anywhere we go to, we hear AI, AI, AI. And there are different things we use AI for. So this training right now will kind of help us. AI tools are becoming more visible, creating curiosity, uncertainty, and ethical questions. And so this workshop will course across different things on what we'll be using AI to do and what AI is not for, and how to be safe in using AI. Next slide, please. So the learning outcome from this is using AI for specific grant writing tasks, writing stronger prompts. You'll be learning that today. You'll be learning how to edit and fact-checking AI outputs. You avoid ethical and privacy risk, and you decide when not to use AI. So now, when you hear like AI, what comes to your mind? You can say it out or put it in the chat. Whenever you hear AI, what comes to your mind?
Ooh, good answers. I'm seeing in the chat just some names of AI. Chris has said loss of critical thinking, which is what you and I were talking about, Trish. The Terminator. Good one, CL. Colleagues, huge water suck data centers. Oh gosh. Well, we're going to actually talk about that in a minute. Help doing basic tasks. Data centers lack of privacy. Not say much when it is on.
Yeah.
Back to the privacy.
Yeah. So you can see AI in the context of grant writing is can you please the next slide? AI in the context of grant writing is a computer-based tool that generates text based on patterns it has learned from large amount of written materials. AI does not think. It does not understand your community. It does not know your organization. It does not even have a lived experience. What it does is to predict the next most likely word in your sentence based on the patterns in its training and based on the prompt you put out there. And
All right.
yeah, we have something here. So guess which of the paragraph was written by AI, looking at this. Can anyone guess? You can If you can't say it, you can put that in the chat. Okay.
I'll say paragraph A.
Okay.
I am seeing overwhelmingly A. So
Okay.
my question is then, what are some of the telltale signs? What gave it away?
Paragraph A, they
Uh-huh.
need sort of generic statements. Yeah, without specific identifiable content.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So to me, looking at it,
Mm-hmm.
B tells me the story of the organization. A just uses a whole bunch of buzzwords,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
those words are used in grants, but they need to have a follow-up sentence explaining how cross-sector collaboration happens or how you continuously evaluate. They're almost a whole paragraph in them themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True. Like I said earlier, AI does not know your community. Like this is just looking like a generic stuff. But you know your community. You know what you have that relationship with your community. You have that relationship with what you're really writing about. You know what you're writing. But AI is just assuming based on the prompt you put out there. And most donors, when they read your work and they see it's written by AI, they will know. It's obvious. And I'm glad you guys just saw the difference between paragraph A and paragraph B. You saw paragraph A just gave it away, it's AI. And AI is just a writing assistant. It's not a strategist, it's not a community member, and it's not a decision maker. Understanding what AI is help you avoid over trusting it. So you should not trust AI. So now we'll go to what AI is not. AI is not human. It's just a machine, a computer thinking. It's not human. AI can draft, AI can outline, AI can summarize, but AI cannot build relationship with funders. AI cannot understand the local political context. AI cannot interpret unspoken expectations. And there is this myth that we need to debunk. They always say that AI can write a full grant in 20 minutes. Who? Yeah, you'll be surprised. You may just put in something, you see the speed, AI will just bring out everything complete. You may just say, oh, yeah, it has written it, you submit it, and at the end, it's just jargons without going through it, without really looking at it. That's jargon. So that's just a myth that AI can write a full grant in 20 minutes. That's not true. AI can help you speed up the process, but strong grants still need that human insight, that human content, that human review. So it's really important to review all these before submitting it. So how AI works? It generates text based on predicting the next word based on the patterns in large amount of text. Like it works like, because so many people have put in different things in there. So it works based on the information it gets from people. It does not understand the meaning or maybe is this real? Is this correct? It just matches different things. And some of the informations are not even correct. It can even assume a name. It can assume different things, but some of the informations are not correct. That's why it's always good to always read through everything you put on AI. Don't just assume AI gave me this, it's artificial intelligence, it's so awesome, it's correct, and you just say, oh yes, I've gotten this. No way. That's risky. AI just supports the part of the process, and human is accountable for everything submitted. So what risks do you think might happen if someone submits AI-generated content without reviewing it? What risks do you think can happen without reviewing something? You just submit it because AI generated that. Can anyone tell me what risks do you think might happen if someone submits it exactly? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah?
A couple of answers I've seen: wrong information, inaccurate data reporting, false information. AI likes to add things that are just not feasible.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. So let's briefly look at how AI actually generates content. AI works with what we call the LLM, that's the large language models. These models usually analyze patterns across billions of words to predict what comes next in a sentence. So important clarification to note is that AI does not verify the truth. It just puts it out there because that's what it sees. AI does not check facts automatically. So you have to check that. Don't believe in AI. AI does not know whether a statistic is real or not. It doesn't know. It just automatic, it just brings it out. So it produces response that sound confident. AI can write something so confident, excellent English, awesome. You just say, oh, wow. But confidence does not equal accuracy. Yeah. AI may invent citations. AI may cite fake statistics, yes. AI may misinterpret policy language. I remember during my graduate program, we had like a project in school, and we had like a group work. So one of my group member came up with lots of citations with references, but we never knew these references were fake. When the professor checked all these, and the professor had to go look at the references one by one, he realized most of our references in our group work was fake. He had to call us into his office and say, what happened? Where did you get this from? We now pointed the guy in our group. Oh, he did that. Professor said, where did you get that from? He now said he used AI. It looked so confident. It has a name, textbook name, the page number, but nothing like that is existing. That's an issue. That's a problem. But I'm so glad the lecturer was so nice that he allowed us to go do it again, because that would have been like an F for the whole group. We'd not verify it. We'd not verify what the boy brought to the group. We just submitted everything. So we should always be careful about AI. Next, please.
All right, so now that Trish has let you know how AI works and some things that it can and cannot do, I am going to talk about how to effectively incorporate AI into grant writing. So my organization, River City Grant Writing, started using AI back in 2022 when it really started to be talked about in a lot of circles. And slowly over time, we've developed some processes and some rules of thumb. I've found that AI can definitely help with writing, and you do the thinking, but it definitely can never replace the person. We use AI kind of the 30 to 40% of the role. It helps with some of the work. People still have to do most of the work. And always, people must be responsible for the final version of that grant. It helps you get started. It saves time on early drafts. But when it comes time to it, the editing, the fixing, the verification, all must be done by people. So for example, if you have a question on a grant where maybe you don't quite understand what it says, it could be interpreted a couple of different ways. Sometimes AI can shed some light on what that question is actually asking. It can also help you draft an outline for how you're going to craft your answer. Next, please. So some good uses of AI is it can help summarize long documents or questions. It can make those funder questions easier to understand. If you're experiencing writer's block, I have had a couple of times where I've been really stuck and I've plugged in a, hey, help me out type prompt. And it's got me over that hump, so to speak. AI is very good if you already have something already written that is maybe a 500 or 1,000 word response, and the question you're trying to answer, they're limiting you to 250. It can help shorten your writing or condense your writing. It can also, like I said before, help write a first draft or an outline. But as Trish has already said, and we will probably repeat it 10 more times, it should not be used for facts that must be correct, budgets or money numbers. I've tried and experimented with AI on project budgets a few times, and I would say about 2/3 of the times it's adding basic numbers incorrectly. So if you are using AI for budgets, you must double check the work. Rules are legal requirements. There's all kinds of stories out there about people writing fake briefs and fake lawsuits with AI, citing laws that don't even exist in their area. So you definitely don't want to rely on AI for that. And final, grant writing without review. So bottom line, AI can get you started, but people must be an integral part of the process in that final review and submission. All right, so I'm not going to read through all this, and you can review this kind of in the link, but what I wanted to do is show you an example of what AI can do. So this is a redacted version of an organizational historical history section that we had in a grant template that was about 500 words long. And the grant we were working on required us to bring it down to 250 words. So if we could go to the next slide, or excuse me, 100 words. So when I just randomly plug this into AI, that original text, the first revision is what AI put out. And so I liked it. It was okay. But as that kind of A and B option we saw earlier, there's a lot of vagueness in it. There's not a lot of details. And I didn't feel that it really told the story of the organization. So I spent about 15 to 20 minutes editing it and adding in those details. I added in the actual names of the nonprofits instead of just saying partners. I added in some details about the founder and the country that they're from. I added in some actual things that they do at the organization now as a result. So again, AI helped me get about 40% of the way there, and I had to carry it the rest of the way. Next slide, please. All right. Trish, I think this is your section.
Okay, yeah. So now ethical use of AI. To protect your data and confidentiality, do not upload sensitive documents or personal identifying information like names that are not public, account information, credit card numbers, your donor information, because your donor names and it should be confidential. They trust you for donating to your organization, so you should keep that confidential. Anything private, you should not share it with AI. AI kind of store information. Sometimes if you notice, if you're using AI and you kind of ask a follow-up questions after some days, you will notice it continues the conversation because it stores your information and it's out there for the public, which is really, really, really risky. Also, like I said earlier, AI does not cite sources reliable. Most of their sources are not true. That's why humans are responsible for accuracy and attribution. That's why we are out there to check every information AI is bringing out. We need to check and verify it to make sure it's correct. Then, like I said earlier, confident language does not mean correct information. It sounds confident, no error English, nice and everything, but most times the informations are not correct. So it's good to always check everything. Take your time, check everything. Also, AI uses significant energy and water. Data centers can affect local communities, including here in Michigan. So consider the environmental impact of doing your stuff and the community impact. AI don't know all these. You alone know the problems your organization is facing. You alone know all these. Don't assume AI know what your organization is passing through and everything. So you should rely on your own information. Don't depend on AI. AI can just help you out, do some stuff, but you need to be careful. AI supports you, but humans decide.
All right. So if we haven't scared you away and you are thinking you do want to use AI, any AI content is as good as the prompt that you use. So if you look at AI differently than if you were doing a Google search. So Google search, a lot of times you'll just say, what is, and you ask the question, or you'll say, find this. It's a very basic couple of word command. With AI, a slightly longer command or prompt will increase the quality and detail of the response that you get. So there's some basic rules you can use. Role is, who should AI be? Task, what do you want done? Do you want them to condense something, summarize something, rewrite, create something new? Context, give a little bit of information, whether it's a link to your website page or a link to an article, or you're updating or you're uploading a document that doesn't have any personally identifiable information, to give more context. Audience, who's going to read it? Is it a donor? Is it a community member? You have to explain that to AI. Constraints, and this is a big one for me. I don't want buzzwords in my responses. I don't want telltale AI punctuation like those M dashes or randomly bolded words. Those are all things I'm going to tell it not to do. Format, how should it look? Do I want bullet points? Do I want short paragraphs, long paragraphs? Do I want it to make a list? Tell it how you want the output to look. And then lastly, how should it sound? The tone. Do you want it to be written in third person or first person? Do you want it to be professional? Do you want it to be sound? So let's say, for example, if you're writing a grant, you want third person professional writing versus a social media post where you want it to be first person and passionate. Those are all descriptors that you can use. So now that we've talked about the different instructions, let's talk about a weak prompt versus a strong prompt. And that'll be, yep. So weak prompts, generic, will create generic, vague information, kind of like that first sample we looked at with platitudes and buzzwords. It will require more editing on your part. It will sound like it was written by AI. And as more people use AI, it will become more people will be able to detect when things you have written are by AI if you're not taking the time to personalize and humanize them. It will, and it will, if it's requiring heavy editing and more editing, you won't see it being much of a time saver on your side. So strong prompts on the opposite, produce fewer clearer first drafts. It's going to reduce that editing time, and you're going to stay closer to funding expectations. So a lot of times, investing more time into that prompt by following those bullet points, and taking the time to create good input, you'll receive a better result. So here's some examples of a bad, a better, or an excellent prompt. Putting those into tab in. So bad prompt, write a paragraph about my organization's history. That's assuming you at some point have told the AI chat, something about your organization. Write 100 words about ABC nonprofit. Use this information. And then I wrote a link to the website. Obviously, this is a fake. If this is a real, if this is a real nonprofit, I apologize. I was just using it as a placeholder. Write it so it can be used in a grant. So that's a little better. It's 2 sentences long. The excellent prompt follows those bullet points listed a couple of slides ago. Write 100 words about the history. Use this information. Write it so I can use it in a government grant. So I've specified the type of grant. Use third-person business formal tones. Avoid buzzword short paragraphs and AI punctuation. Highlight the founder's story and the core mission of the organization. Use medium-length paragraphs and bullet points. So I've told it what it should look like, and the results are on the next slide. So using the same organization as I've been using all along, the bad prompt really just kind of is glossing over what the organization is. It's using those same buzzwords. It's not really giving a lot of detail. Whereas the excellent prompt has some dates in it. It has the names of the partners. It talks about the country the person is from. It even gives their name. And then now it talks about what the program components that they're doing. So taking a few extra minutes to create a good prompt has created a much better product. And next, we're going to talk about how to humanize AI output and talk about that quality assurance. So, common AI tells, so to speak. Who has ever seen, they're really popular right now. I'm seeing them on Facebook and LinkedIn. AI posts. So when you see a post and you're like, oh, AI wrote that, tell me a few things that you see in the chat that automatically tells you AI wrote it. Yes, Katie, lots of exclamation points. Emojis, that is the biggest AI tell. Instead of using a bullet point, they're using an emoji. M dashes, yes. So an M dash is different than a hyphen, and it kind of hurts me that M dashes have become an AI tell because I used to use M dashes a lot and I've had to stop in my writing. But M dashes, instead of completing a sentence or using a colon or a semicolon appropriate. Yeah, Gabby, I feel you. Strange words, yeah. So there's some phrases AI likes to use. A beacon of light or a beacon of hope. If you're reading something that you wouldn't say in real life, even in the most formal setting, because we all use different language depending on who we're talking to. But if you've never heard yourself say a beacon of light in real life, don't put it in a grant proposal. It's really that simple. And that's for me. I used to get on my writers when I would say, come on now, we really would never say that. And so that's the biggest thing, is humanizing and editing your AI output. First and foremost, you're checking for accuracy and those numbers, those dates, those statistics, program claims, making sure AI isn't giving you more objectives and goals than you believe you can realistically accomplish during the grant period. voice and tone, making sure that it's consistent with how you want it to read, that it's not too serious or too light and fluffy. Alignment with funder language. Is your response mimicking the words and the question, answering the actual question? Plain spoken human tone. You don't need to use fancy, language and fancy phrases, especially when you're dealing with a word limit or a character limit, which are even worse than word limits in my world. You definitely want to make sure that you are using concise language in a similar way that you or somebody at your organization would speak about your organization. And these grants that these people that say they can help you write a grant in 20 minutes with AI, well, they can help you write it, but you're going to spend several hours editing it. So they don't tell you that part. Because you should never submit a grant without proofreading and editing. All right, and Alejandra, are you here?
So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about how LAUP and me personally use AI in grant writing. Grant funding is a big part of what sustains our programs, and so we are always looking for ways that strengthen our proposals without losing our essence, and what makes them true. For LAUP in particular, our programs are deeply rooted in lived experiences, and I'm sure this goes the same for a few of us in this workshop today. Deeply rooted in lived experiences and community voices. And so that's why we are so careful, particular, and intentional about how we approach grant writing and storytelling. And it's very simple, right? The bottom line is AI can help in certain steps, but it will never replace our judgment. It will never replace our relationships or the responsibility that we carry when telling our community story. Um, Funders often want that polished language. However, it's our job to communicate real community needs with accuracy and with respect. And so that's why our rule is very simple and super straightforward. AI can help support, and with efficiency, but it will never replace judgment or our voice. And I think the reason that this matters most, and it's true for smaller teams and organizations, but most of us are writing grants, but also juggling everything else, right? We wear multiple hats. Time is limited, so yes, we need tools that save time, but we don't want to cut corners when it comes to trust. Um, can we move to the next slide, please? So this is the workflow that I actually follow. Uh, First step is checking the funder's AI policy. Now it's becoming a bit more common that funders have clear stipulations whether they allow it. They have clear policies on it. Some restricted, and some don't even mention it. If it's unclear, my recommendation is to take the conservative approach and assume limits, because honestly, the risk is just not worth it. Second, and this is the one area where AI genuinely helps me. English is not my first language, it's Spanish. And so I use AI to clarify language, dumb down questions, zoom in, and make sure that I fully understand what the funder is really asking before I even start writing anything. The third thing that I do is start the draft in my own words. I want the language to sound like us and reflect our work and our community. And like I said, efficiency matters, but not at the expense of our voice, right? At the end of the day, I think humans know the nuance, and humans are the ones that will be reading and reviewing these proposals. Um, and for me personally, having been on the grant making side of the coin, I can tell you we know when a proposal has been written by AI, and funders want to hear from the actual people doing the work. So keep that in mind. There's a very cool feature in certain tools that allows you to have a conversation with the tool. But it's essentially me talking to myself out loud and going through my thought process. So essentially, the tool plays the part of my thinking partner. And so I go through ideas and trains of thought, and I do it out loud. So it basically helps me put my thoughts in order and have a visual of what that looks like. I like to think of it as like, meeting notes from a conversation with myself. And I would encourage you to challenge the tool during that step, not just accept the first output, ask, what's missing? Where are the weak spots? What assumptions did you make? How can you strengthen an idea? And I think using it to find those areas of improvement without replacing our own judgment. And number four, if I am to use AI again, it's essentially just to polish, whether that's grammar, tightening the tone, maybe it's adjusting the word count that the funder is asking for, or breaking it down so it's a bit more digestible and easy to understand if I'm the one that's using the dense and technical wording, but it's never to generate the full story. And like I said, I think funders often want that polished language, but it is our responsibility to make sure that that polish never erases people's voices. Oop, wait, you skipped. We're in the what we avoid. Can we go back? There we go. So these are our non-negotiables, and I share them because I think that this is where people can accidentally get into trouble with AI. So first of all, and some of these may sound obvious, but I really want to make sure that everyone understands the importance of them. Don't let AI write full drafts or even full sections of a proposal. And I think this is the part where language starts to feel generic or it's polished, but it's empty. And that's a problem for us because grants have to reflect real people, real needs, real work. And that is something that you can't really outsource. And like we said earlier, there are very distinctive tells that give away that a document or a paragraph or a text that you submit was written in AI. Second, obviously, don't upload any sensitive information if it's confidential, if it's internal, if it includes anything regarding personal details about staff, participants, families, partners. Just don't go into it does not go into the tool. I think even if you trust the tool, it's not worth the risk, and protecting our community and protecting the organization is and should be a priority. Third, not relying on AI for any facts, data, or anything that is compliance related. The thing about AI is it can sound very confident and still be wrong. And I think in grant writing, being a little wrong can cost you funding, it can cost you credibility. So everything has to be verified by a human, and it has to be backed by a real source. And most importantly, nothing gets submitted without a real human review. And that's not just a let me skim through the document real quick. It's a real review, because at the end of the day, it's our name that's on the line. It's our name on that application, and we are responsible for what we submit. Can we move to the next one, please? So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how these safeguards and non-negotiables have helped me with. The first one is clarity. It really helps me understand the questions faster, especially when the language is very technical. Like I said, my first language is Spanish, and so I like to understand really what's going on. And so instead of getting stuck trying to decode the question or the word, I get to the point faster, and so I'm able to give an answer with more intentionality, right? Because I have the background of understanding what is actually being asked of me. The second one I'd say is momentum. It significantly reduces the time that I spend stuck at the beginning. And, AI isn't writing the content, but it's helping me organize my thoughts faster and it helps me build a clear starting point and I can shape that in my own voice. And the third one is protecting our voice, right? The goal is never to sound fancy. The goal is to sound super clear, real, and aligned with the funder, all while staying true to the people that we serve. We want our proposals to feel like Loeb, not something that could have been written for any organization. And I always say this part out loud because it really, really matters. I think that the safeguards are just as important as the time savings, double checking the facts, watching out for bias, um, making sure that it's original, and reading for tone so that it sounds human. And then last but not least, the one thing that I try to do, and this is especially, I didn't include it on here, but especially when we don't receive a grant, it's a quick debrief. I like to sit down with the funder, the partner, and ask what made the difference, what's missing, what we should be working on for next time. And let me tell you, that feedback is gold. It helps us grow, it helps us understand. And I think it's a good reminder for us too that relationships are part of it and learning is a huge part of grant writing. Um, so that's what we do. Thank you.
Oh, okay. If you remember nothing else from all these slides we've covered so far, remember this. AI can help you start. Humans must review, must refine, and must submit it. In community-based work, voice matters, integrity matters, accuracy matters. AI should never override lived experiences. All right, let's briefly look at some of the commonly used tools. ChatGPT, that's a common one that most of us use this. It's good for drafting grant sections, need statements, program description. It's good for brainstorming languages and outlines. It's also good for understanding the question, especially most of us that our first languages is not English. So it can help you understand the question. It can help you to revisit the tone and clarity to be so clear about what they're asking you for. It's best used for editing and not for final submission. Let's play a little game. Can you go back to the slide? You can, if you have ChatGPT on your laptop or you have an account with ChatGPT, can you open it? Can you please click on that link? Let's see. Yeah. If your ChatGPT is open, can you just put something and ask ChatGPT, write your name. For example, tell me about Trish Okolo. So you can just put your name. You'll be shocked on what outputs it brings out.
That's pulling your LinkedIn.
Uh-huh. It's even looking for images. Okay. Exactly. That's my name. It's even brought out my middle name. Okay. Okay. So you can see what AI brought out. So you should try that with your names. So can anyone read what they got from theirs? From putting in their name in there? Wow, nice. Ooh, okay. The wrong pictures. Ooh. So you see how interesting this is. Some people it brought out wrong pictures. Some people correct information. So that's it about ChatGPT. Then we have a tool called, the next slide, please. We have a tool called Gemini. Gemini is similar to ChatGPT, and it's so good for Google Docs and Google Workspace. It works so well with that. And also, you can generate photos from Gemini, like real photos. You can tell Gemini, look at me. You upload your normal photo and tell Gemini, can you recreate a photo with a lady putting on a blazer with a hat on her head using this same face structure? Gemini will produce that same picture with your face, but like a different outfit, depending on what prompt you give it. Also, it works so well with Google Docs and Google Workspace. But remember, always review everything AI brings out. Then we have another one. We have DeepSeek. DeepSeek is also another AI tool. It also helps create idea generation to generate ideas. Like you may see some problem in your community that you want to solve, but you don't know how to go about it. You can get ideas by putting the right prompt, and then you can now work on that particular prompt you get. DeepSeek is also good for that. But remember, always review, always check, and always edit. Don't just assume. Then we have Grammarly. I use Grammarly so well because I'm a grant writer. I write grants here at Treetops Collective. Grammarly will help with your English to help make it like perfect. It will help check spellings and all that. So I use Grammarly to check my spellings, to make sure it's correct. So it helps you correct your English and helps you polish your draft. But remember, it cannot help you generate ideas, and it can also help you like maybe refine something, but it can help you correct your English. So that's what Grammarly is used for. Then we have other tools. We have the Google Docs Smart Compose. I've not used that, but I just looked through it, and it's something now I think is good. It helps like for sentence suggestions and basic edits, but it's not so intense like ChatGPT. Then we have the Microsoft Soft Copilot. It works well with Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. Most times it's integrated into them. Then we have spell checkers and summarizers. They are just like basic tools, but they're not like ChatGPT. And it also can help you check your spellings, which Grammarly, I think I'll recommend Grammarly for that, to help you check spellings and making sure you're on the right path in submitting your grant, like making sure the English and everything is kind of clear enough. So when deciding on how to use your tool, choosing a tool depends on your goal. Are you drafting, summarizing, or editing? Does this tool store your data? Are you uploading sensitive content? You need to think of all that. Remember, you don't upload sensitive content on AI. You don't upload internal documents from your organization on AI. You don't upload members, your participants, private information on AI. Then, do you need paid features? Most of the AI tools have paid versions, like ChatGPT, there is paid version, DeepSeek, there is paid version, Grammarly, there is paid version. So some of them have this paid version, but are you looking for that? For most beginners, free versions are kind of sufficient. And keep tools simple. Complexity increases risks of over-reliance. You may go pay for the bigger version and you may overtrust it and believe, oh, I paid for this, so maybe this will be better off. But that's risky. You may now rely on it for everyday tasks, which I think it will affect your thinking because you won't be thinking smart anymore because you're depending on AI for everything. Then AI supports the work, then human decide if it's okay. Next slide, please.
Okay. So, the links will, when you access the presentation that has been referenced in the chat, when you access the presentation slides, these links should work for you. So when I was creating my part of the presentation, especially when it came to the good prompts, I was teaching myself a lot while I was presenting this. And a couple of YouTubers that I found that provide pretty simple instruction without how social media content is, that people have a tendency to kind of be over the top and promise the world. Those two YouTubers that I found seem to be take a little bit more of a realistic approach towards incorporating AI very ethically and very measured into your work life. And some articles that I read as well, again, some of them doing a little bit of over-promising on how much AI can do for you, but hopefully you'll take the cautions that we have instilled into this presentation and are able to use these learning resources to improve your skill set. So just to kind of wrap up and do some takeaways before we start the Q&A portion of the presentation. Hopefully we have really conveyed well in here. AI speeds up drafting, not decision making. AI can't know the nuances of your culture, of your organization, of the people you work with, like you do. And no computer or machine or server can take that away. Ethics and privacy are absolutely non-negotiable. Be careful of what information you are providing to the AI service that you're using. Quality requires human review and verification of data, of word usage, of sentence, of grammar, all of those things. AI can always help you out with the initial drafting. It can help you organize ideas and save time early in the process, but you really must make that final decision as a representative of your organization, editing for clarity, making sure the answers fit the funder requirements. So the next steps I recommend for you is practice writing those prompts and see what word combinations help. As you use an AI, a generative AI model, it will learn your language and it will learn how you want it to talk for you. And things get easier, but never, even as the quality of the output increases, don't let up on the need for editing and monitoring its output. Decide where AI fits into your workflow. Can it help you create lists and checklists for your grant process? Can it help create different versions of a problem statement for your grant at different word lengths? And then just use that checklist that, going through all of your checks and balances before you submit that grant. So last but not least, I know we've said it a million times, AI helps you write faster, but humans have to be responsible for what that final product ends up being submitted. So if you have questions, Trish, Alejandra, and I are all here to answer them. You can put them in chat, or you can go ahead and come off mute and use your voice. Nobody has a question?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. Okay. My question will be, yes, thank you so much for this valuable education. Is it legitimate? Because sometimes, as you said, we try to write so many things in English, and English is not our first languages. But if I try to write something and bring it back to AI and it says rephrase, how is it? Is it want to bring me good answers, or I wrote already by myself, but I try to ask AI to rephrase it?
And you're asking, how do you know if it's a good answer?
Yes, how, and is he want to give me false information or still want to be accurate?
Okay. Well, and are you proficient enough in English to know if what you're reading is true or not most of the time?
Yes.
Okay. Then you're then you're the one who can determine if the information is true or not. If you put something in and it rewrites it in a way that just isn't accurate, it's up to you to edit it and make it correct. Because AI, and I've seen it mentioned in the chat a few times, it will take things that you put in and twist it and make it completely untrue. And so it's up to you to make sure that in the editing portion of the process that you're fixing those errors.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. You answer. Thank you so much.
Any recommendations on where to find suitable grants? Using chat sometimes is generic and not applicable. So finding grants, are you looking for grant sources, DC?
Yes, that is correct. I represent a local cat rescue. So that is correct. The grant role is something I kind of just walked into trying to help them, and that's why I'm joining. So I'm follow other organizations and that are local, and obviously that, but there's a lot of information, and when I do use the different set of tools, sometimes I'm given, just very inaccurate information. It's completely not applicable. So just wondering, with this group of other people that do this for employment, if there's maybe something I'm overlooking.
Okay, so if you go into the West Michigan Welcome Plans website, they have a drop-down box of resources, and it says workshops. There was a past workshop that was done, and it's the very last one called Where Are the Grants? And there's a recording of Steve, who is the business librarian at the Grand Rapids Public Library. I'm trying to scramble and get the chat. And I'm trying to get it into the chat.
I got it in there already, Trish.
Oh, thank you. Steve does a really good job of guiding you through the how to use the Candid Foundation directory that's free at Grand Rapids Public Library. And he guides you through it, and you can even set up a one-on-one appointment with Steve, and he will teach you how to use it. And that will allow you to tailor your search to your specific organization and the people or animals that you serve. I agree, Dan. Steve is a great guy. He's a gem.
And can I add that it's focused on the Grand Rapids Public Library, but he does mention that there's like universities and other local or public organizations that might have that resource available for the public to tap into.
Yes, if you live in a larger metro area, especially in Michigan, many of the main branches of your city will have Foundation Directory available for free for use to library card holders. Okay, Judith asked in the chat, if you use AI to help you write your grant narrative and the output you get is better than what you could say in your own words, would it be just fine to use it? Let's say you end up using AI's output and it is quite obvious, maybe there are too many M dashes. Will the funder remove points for things like that, even if their application did not specify that you can use AI? Ooh, wouldn't that be nice if we knew what every funder wanted every time? I would say that unless there is a specific policy against AI, funders won't necessarily deduct points or ignore because there's some telltale signs in there. However, there's no guarantee. And ultimately, is that a risk that you want to take? I don't personally want to take that risk, even though I may think the product is better than what I could write. As you get more confidence in your writing, you will realize that you can ultimately put a better final edit on it than just taking the initial output. I challenge you to really dig deep and improve your writing skills as you're editing AI output, because humans will always do a better job, in my opinion. And that might be controversial, but Trish, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, yeah, funders don't deduct points from using AI. They care about whether your proposal is kind of specific and is aligned and credible, aligned to what they're looking out for, aligned with your organization. So it won't hurt, but it will hurt when your application is kind of generic. But so that's why you just need to go through the draft. If you say it's better than your first draft, what you've drafted, the AI is better, you need to go through it and look at it and see that it has some human touches. Like Tricia described how how to kind of convert your AI to become human, how to humanize your AI. So it's good for you to also kind of look at it and try to humanize it as much as possible. Yeah.
Alejandra, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I echo both of your thoughts. I don't think, unless it's specified in the guidelines that a funder is providing, they're not going to take off points. But I think it is really important to remember that they want to hear from you as a person, as a human, as an organization, and I don't think AI will ever get to a point where it can replace that humanity in the voice and in representing what you know as an organization and the community that you serve and the values that you represent and the mission that you are moving forward. I really hate the M dash situation because I love M dashes and now I find myself just removing them from every single text that I write because it means I used AI. So again, I think that there are downsides to that, but again, I think just practicing that muscle to in our writing skills is super important and not just relying on AI, even if it does sound better or we think it
Yeah.
sounds better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it should sound like you. It should not sound like a computer stuff. It should sound like you.
Mhm. And sometimes,
Mhm.
and I'll be very honest with you, as you know, because the West Michigan Welcome Plan obviously works with a lot of immigrant refugee-led organization, which naturally may mean English language learners. Funders are a lot more graceful when it comes to quote unquote proper grammar and things like that than I believe the average person is aware of. They're more concerned about understanding what you want to do with their funding and answering their questions than making sure every comma is exactly the right place. So while AI may provide that for you, as Alejandra and Trish said, they can't replace your lived experience. AI cannot replace your story and the story of the people you serve. Going on to the next question, Laura asks, in your example of reducing word count in your paragraph about ABC.org, you stated that the AI generated description didn't go into enough detail and you added content. Did that cause you to go over the word count again? If so, would you put your own version back through AI and ask to reduce it? Good, really good question. Actually, in this specific example, it didn't because I reduced a lot of those buzzwords that really didn't mean anything. So I was able to add replace them with the actual details. However, I have had it happen a couple of times, and you're absolutely right. I ran it through again and said, hey, can you shave off 10 words because I'm over again? And that time it produced a much better product. Left the details that I added back in, but reworked a few things so I got rid of the 10 words I needed. Dan responded, we do grants, you may not lose points, but you also will not stand out from the pack. And that's a really good point. As more people rely on AI in their grant writing, if you're just taking the first result that comes out and using it as your final answer, so are 20 other people. The organizations that are actually taking the time to edit, personalize, and humanize their answers are the ones that are going to stand out. Ooh, this one's good for you, Alejandra. What are some common AI policies organizations might have?
So
Trish,
I've
you
seen I have seen some that specifically ask you to disclose if an AI tool was used in the process of generating a proposal. So you have to disclose where. Some are more just like a general caution of, it has to be reviewed by a human. I think it falls back down to the voice and originality of what you're submitting. Ensuring that it's the voice that's representing the community, lived experiences, preventing cultural misinterpretation or trying to avoid that generic language that AI tends uh, to provide.
Mhm.
Trish, does Treetops have any policies or
Yeah.
informal or formal?
Yeah, I just opened that. Okay. Okay, our policies, no uploading personal identifiable information, no client stories with identifying details, no confidential financial or HR documents. All AI-generated content must be reviewed and edited. Staff remain responsible for accuracy. AI cannot make final programmatic or funding decisions. No fabricated statistics, no invented citations, verification required before submission. Staff may need to disclose when AI was used. AI use may be limited to drafting or editing. Clear boundaries on acceptable use. Only approved AI platforms may be used. IT or leadership review of privacy policies is really important. Restrictions on storing organizational data. AI must align with organizational values, must protect community voice and dignity, cannot replace grounded storytelling. Yes, this is our policies.
All right. Judith asked another question. Have grant applications become more competitive since AI became mainstream? Since people can now complete applications faster and easier, have you noticed if funding has become more competitive? Ooh. I would say that yes, funding has become more competitive, but I don't know if it's just because of AI. Because of the federal funding climate and a lot of restructuring that happened with the flow of government funding last year, things just became more competitive in general as well. So I think it's kind of multiple factors.
Yeah, I agree with you, Trisha. And I think it also, yes, 100%, it's because of budget cuts. But I think this goes back to what I said about that relationship piece and building those long-lasting relationships with funders. Um, I think that there are a lot of organizations that are going after the same dollars that are duplicating the same programs, right? So rather than competing against each other, I would encourage collaboration, and going after those limited grant dollars in partnership. And this is something that we always try to do at LAUP. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations here in Holland and along the lakeshore. And we don't want to compete, at the end of the day, we're doing this because we want our community to thrive. We want our community to be successful. So I would encourage you to not look at it as competing, but rather collaborating and seeking those opportunities.
What has your experience been, Trish?
Yeah, it's been tight. Like we serve the refugee and immigrant communities, and we know what's really going on right now, the shortage in funding. So I don't think it's AI that's affecting that. I just think it's the federal funding cut that is affecting the competitions and all that. Because I just believe funders usually kind of prioritize alignment. They try to look at the alignment with, because some organization can be asking for same fund, but they tend to see the most aligned programs aligning with their funding. So I don't think it's AI that is the cause.
The questions seem to have slowed down. Would anybody else like to type or ask a question?
Yeah, I really appreciate you are doing this workshop.
Oh, sorry. I was asking a question. I didn't know my mic
Oh.
was off.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Renya, we'll come to you we'll come to you next.
Right.
I
Oh,
can keep
you're coming to me next?
Renya was talking. We'll come to you, Reverend, in just a moment.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I appreciate you are doing this workshop because 2 years ago, one of my friends told me to use the ChatGPT to keep working with all my projects because it's gonna be more easier. But listening everything, yeah, it gave me a lot of knowledge what to do now and how important is to, you know, because I'm using the free ChatGPT and it's hard because yeah, I didn't know many things that you are telling me that right now. But yeah, I think so it's important as a immigrant community that we are trying to get grants to keep working with the community, know these basic things or this amazing thing, amazing information that for me is gonna be I'm gonna see now everything so different when I start applying for grants and following the steps that you're telling me. But I really wanted to appreciate to do that for that community. And I don't know, I'm very surprised about everything what you said. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
Reverend, did you want to have a question now?
Yes, I was kind of wondering about the tools. Now, my thinking is that with time, all of the tools will have a paid subscription, sort of. Which ones amongst them would you consider priority if an organization would like to subscribe to the tools?
My personal, what I personally use is Grammarly. That would be my first choice because Grammarly will help you with, just like it says, grammar. There is a free version, but for $120 a year or $10 a month, you can get the version that will help you structure your sentences a little better. It will do more than just identify spelling errors and missing commas. So if you have a budget of about $100, I would do Grammarly first. If you have a budget of about $300, I would do the $20 a month subscription to ChatGPT. Those would be in that order. Grammarly first, ChatGPT second, because the free version of ChatGPT is pretty darn good, but the paid version of Grammarly is much better than the free version. What do you think, Trish?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I prefer Grammarly to to all the other. I agree.
The thing with Grammarly is if you have the paid version, it does incorporate AI like paragraph restructuring. And you can get caught in a loop where it will have you restructure and restructure and restructure. And before you know it, it will always find something better it can improve than the previous version. And before you know it, what you wrote no longer makes sense, and it's just a shell of its former self. So use that part with caution, because anything you write, Grammarly will always find something that could be done better. It could be a person who has a PhD in English and can write perfectly. Grammarly will find something that's wrong with it. So
Right.
don't let Grammarly make you feel bad about your English abilities.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Well, I guess we're going to be ending early today then. If you have any questions, I'll hang out for a few minutes. I know Trish will too. But thank you all for attending today, and hopefully you got some information you can use in the future and go get that funding.
Thank you. Thank you. This is helpful.
Thank you so much.
This is a question for Trisha. You mentioned a person's name again several times. It was, gosh, I just wrote it down. Steve, what was his last name?
And Sarian, I believe is his last name. Hold
Asarian.
on. I'm sorry,
Steve Asarian.
Asarian. He is the business librarian at the main branch of the Grand Rapids Public Library.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification.